I heard crickets jabbering in the shadows among the trees. Nearby, in a clearing, a campfire flickered. Jesus and his buddies were talking around the fire. I saw them seated there in the dance of darkness and light. I chose to come at night when no one else could see me. No one else would even know I was there. I had to come. I had to meet him for myself. You see, I've heard him speak. I've seen his miracles. He's different, I know that. There's something mysterious about him, yet something familiar too, something that's both comforting and deeply unsettling. I stepped on a twig and it snapped underfoot. They all looked up, silent now. I emerged from the shadows, and I'm sure they could recognize by my clothes that I'm someone important, a teacher of the Jews. A couple of them smiled and nodded, obviously impressed that I would show up here to talk with their friend, but before any of them could say a word, I cleared my throat and addressed Jesus. "Rabbi," I said, bowing out of respect. "We know you are a teacher sent from God, for no one could possibly do the wonders you do unless God were with him." I paused and waited for him to acknowledge the compliment, but he didn't say anything. He just studied my face. I could see the flicker of shadow and light on his features as the campfire leapt and twisted a few feet away. I expected him to say something like, "Well, gee, thanks, I appreciate that. So kind of you to mention it, just trying to be faithful there, just using the gifts and talents God gave me." But he didn't, and that surprised me. Instead, he just says, "So you think God's kingdom is proven by outward signs? Well, no one can even see God's kingdom unless he's born again." Born again? What? I try to wrap my mind around his words. Is he trying to tell me I've never even seen God's kingdom? Does he know who he was talking to? Everyone knows Jesus likes to use shocking images in his teaching, images of thieves and seeds and pigs and pearls, but being born again, what's that supposed to mean? "No one can enter God's kingdom unless he's born of water and the Spirit," answered Jesus, pushing a stick into the fire to reposition the coals. In the new light of the fire, he must have noticed the bewildered look on my face because he motions for me to have a seat. I scrunched down on one of the logs they pulled up beside the campfire. I saw his wild features in the blazing light. There is nothing tame about this man. We all know that humans have human babies, but God is doing something different. A cloud of sparks drifted skyward. Your problem is that you think it's all explainable, but it's not supposed to be reasonable. The process is as mysterious as the wind. You can't even understand the direction of the wind, its origin or its destination. How can you expect to nail down spiritual birth? How are you going to fit that into your neat little theological box? My heart beat faster now. He seems impatient with me, like he's talking to a child who hasn't been listening in school. This guy doesn't beat around the bush, does he? I watched the sparks rise into the darkness. They rode invisible currents of air curling up into the night. The wind carried them along toward the stars. The wind of the fire, the breath of the flames. I watched them dance upward into the darkness and then disappear into the unknown. I was trying to understand all that he was telling me. I really was, but I couldn't seem to make any sense of it. Finally, I shook my head. I'm sorry, I don't understand. He rises and steps toward me, filling the space between me and the fire. You teach others, don't you? You teach the word of God, yet you don't understand it yourself? I blink, unsure what to say. He sighs and shakes his head. Then he spoke of purpose. The purpose of his life, the purpose of our lives, and the importance of faith at the center of it all. Over and over in half a dozen ways, he tells me my problem isn't in my head, but in my heart. It isn't facts I need, he says, but faith. Not proof, but belief. And he spoke to me of fear, the fear of being revealed. He tells me most people hide and are afraid to come into the light for fear that their evil deeds will be exposed. Light and darkness, secrets and revelation, truth and lies, faith and fear, all his words sail through my head. He's saying I'm in love with the darkness. The words sting me. That's what he said. That's what he means. The other men were silent. And the truth hit me like a fist to the gut. He's right, Nicodemus. You are afraid of the truth. You are in love with the darkness. Why else would you have come at night? I swallowed hard. How does he know? How can he see so deeply into my soul? How can he know my heart so well when we've only just met? But, he said at last, whoever lives by the truth, Nicodemus, comes into the light. His words didn't sound like doctrine at all, more like an invitation. Then Jesus was done. The fire crackled. There's nothing more to say. I nodded to him and he nodded back. I looked at the men sitting there, listening to all of this, studying me. I wonder how many of them have believed, have been reborn, have seen the kingdom, have stepped into the light. Then I left the fire and walked into the shadows again. And I wonder if I'm going into the shadows or through them, into or through. His words snapped at my heels as I stumbled back home through the raven black night. Whoever lives by the truth comes into the light. I noticed stars flickering high above me like sparks from 1,000 fires that finally found their way home through the night. Am I walking into the night or through it to the other side? Through it, I said to myself. I am walking through it. And I took a step forward, toward home.